Morning, South Africa. Hope you're well. I would love to hear your viewpoint on last night's, uh, let's call it South Africa versus US meeting. What's your viewpoint? How did you feel about it? How do you feel about the stuff Trump said? How do you feel about the stuff Cyril said, John said, Rupert, Ernie, Retief? Yeah, would like to hear what you guys have to say. Let's keep it respectful, the comments, but speak to me, South Africa. I'd like to hear what the country thinks of this.
Okay, so here's my take on the meeting between Cyril Ramaphosa, the South African president, and Donald Trump. I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. What is more interesting is if you follow the right-wing American news as well as the left-wing American news, and you listen to the left-wing pundits on TikTok and the right-wing pundits on TikTok, you're all insane. Specifically the Americans. I'm sorry, specifically the Americans. Because there is anti-Trump madness, and there is also pro-Trump madness. You guys are both completely insane. What I hear a lot of is if you're pro-Trump, you're like, yo, Donald Trump showed the South African president, and then he did this reverse Uno card and he showed them the footage and he got the South Africans, he showed them good. That's not what happened. And then the other way around, the anti-Trumpers are saying, poor Cyril Ramaphosa and the South Africans, they were ambushed. They were ambushed, just like Zelensky. They were ambushed. They were not fucking ambushed. Let me tell you guys, on the left and on the right, something. You guys are so drunk to your hatred or love of Donald Trump that you've stopped thinking objectively. 90% of the people in South Africa that watched that, I've been listening, have all agreed that was a pretty damn good meeting. That was good. There was good diplomacy. There was some weird and wonderful things that happened in that meeting, but that's what a meeting is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about getting to the meat of an issue. And they got to the meat of the issue. I loved it all. I loved the back and forth. I loved how Donald Trump asked certain legitimate questions, brought up some videos, showed some papers. I loved how Ramaphosa answered. I loved how he handed it over to other people at different times, like John Steenhuisen. I loved the banter back and forth. I thought that was a fantastic meeting. And for you guys that are either so in love at the feet of Donald Trump or so anti-Trump, you're not seeing things objectively. Watch it again. Go on YouTube and watch it again. And compare that meeting to some of the other meetings that have happened in the White House recently, including Zelensky. And you'll see what I'm saying. It is objectively a very successful, wonderful diplomatic meeting. At least that's what I saw. What do you guys think?
Guys, did you watch that meeting with Ramaphosa and Donald Trump? What do you mean in 2025 we have the leader of the free world sharing the most atrocious form of disinformation? And people still smiling. Like, I don't even know where to begin, but that entire meeting was a trigger through and through. And I will applaud Ramaphosa for his diplomacy because he's way better than me. He's way better than almost anybody. I can't. I cannot believe that in 2025 that is what is supposed to be running the free world. I mean, yeah. I'm absolutely speechless. My blood has boiled and it has settled back down. As in, I won't even get into it, but yeah. Yeah, it's not looking good for the future. It's really, really not looking good for future generations. You would have thought that we'd evolve as human beings, be more intelligent, be more logical, and have better reasoning skills. That was an absolute shit show. There's no other way to put it. It was just a shit show. But I mean, everything with Donald Trump is a shit show anyways, so.
Hey there, Cyril. What Mark say? Anyway, we saw the meeting that they had, and what can I say? I honestly thought that Cyril would actually stand up for himself. He, in a way, tried, but they yabas. We saw that. This man kept duck that there's a white genocide. You said no. Instead of standing and said that there isn't, this man said there in front of the whole world there that there's a white genocide, and you, the government, don't do anything, and you take the land and all. Why don't they reiterate that? Why didn't you press on the button and say, no, we don't taking land now? That has been put through, but it has not been implemented yet. Because this man comes with the impression that for the last couple of years now, this white genocide, that these people's farms were taken from them. And they show that people all that. And this is what messes me up. I can't believe that it took a businessman, that Rupert, but I don't like him, to basically go out and say that that is not happening, that the most murders happening in this country is, and yeah, wait for it. I don't know if this was planned, but this was a gevaarlijke move. Arme John Steenhuisen had to basically cringe in his boots to know that in an international place like America, in front of the American president, his government that is running this province was said to have the highest murder rate on the Cape Flats. I take my hat off to Rupert, but see now the oxymoron of things that they are saying, like the black government is having a genocide to the white people, no? Yet Rupert is saying on that arena there that nope, in a place where it's run not by black people, a government that is not run by black people in a province, the highest murder rate, it's in the Cape Flats, which is basically black and colored majority. So what does that tell you? So yeah, I think it is a very embarrassing moment for Uncle John to be put on a spot like that in America. Trump must come here, can find up some ugly Americans also here. But this was a complete joke. Honestly, I honestly thought that Ramaphosa would actually stand up, but it's all about the money. And you could hear what they were saying, because you could see that Rupert wants Starlink here to get that money and to get that business. So yeah, yesterday was a joke. It was a complete joke.
Trump just had the weirdest meeting in the Oval Office today. Like, it might top the attack on Zelensky. Because he was hosting the president of South Africa, and at first, it was fine. They were joking. Trump was like, he called me, and I said, how'd you get this number? And then, a reporter asked why Trump decided to admit white South Africans as refugees, but not people who were actually in need, and then it just spiraled out of control. Or with Trump falsely claiming there was a genocide against white people in South Africa, which then creates this back and forth where the president of South Africa is trying to explain to Trump why he's wrong, and Trump's just being Trump. But then at one point, the president pointing out that the golfers that he brought with him and a portion of his cabinet that are there with him are white, and he said if there was a genocide, they wouldn't be here. He then tells Trump to listen to the voices of South Africans, but Trump then has the lights turned out and they play clips on a TV of what Trump claims proves that there's a genocide. But then Trump pulling out a big stack of printed out articles, and so the South African president kicks it over to the white Secretary of Agriculture to explain that a genocide is not happening. Or with Trump then threatening to involve Elon because Elon's from there. And notably, in the past, Elon has said that Starlink wasn't allowed to operate in South Africa because he wasn't black. And well, in this meeting, the South African government was talking about how they need it and haven't been able to get it. And then a reporter asked Trump about the plane Qatar, definitely didn't bribe him with, and Trump goes ballistic over it, and so then...
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I'd take it. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
Okay.
But yeah, follow to stay in the loop.
Hello, I know I look crazy. I was just in the middle of writing an entertainment profile, simultaneously covering Donald Trump's meeting with the South African president on Blue Sky when I thought I would just hop on here and casually cover it. So the two met to discuss this white genocide, among other things, and a partnership, and it went off the rails. At one point, Trump demanded that they dim the lights in the room to play a prepared video that's supposed to prove mass killings of white farmers in South Africa, leaning into this conspiracy theory that has been debunked by every piece of information that has ever been presented. We just don't have any evidence that that is actually happening. And Ramaphosa looked stunned. He was silent, smiling, uncomfortable. He couldn't watch the video. He was shifting in his seat. And eventually, when it ended, very calmly, he said, where is this? I know nothing about this. Our government has nothing to do with this, and I'd never even seen it. But Trump kept pulling back into this narrative of dead white people. White farmers are being killed. And the difference in how Trump treated the guests was wild. I am not interested in this race culture war stuff, but he was giving the white South Africans jokes about golf, relating to golf, gave Elon Musk a shout out, but when the black trade union leader spoke up about violence against black South African elderly women, Trump literally scowled, dismissed them, just moved on, and at one point he was flipping through pages, death to white farmers. And Ramaphosa stayed measured the entire time. He even pointed out that his agricultural minister is white and that South Africa has crime, yes, but not a racial genocide. It's not just white people and not white people more than any other culture. And so, it was not just a tense. It was Trump trying to push this fringe narrative in front of a foreign leader who was trying to give him a reality check, basically. And after the video played, there was this incredibly tense and awkward moment when an NBC News reporter shouted from the press seats, asking about the Qatari jet, and Trump was enraged. He insulted him. He said he doesn't deserve to be a reporter, he told him. Besides some white South Africans and other South Africans saying that the white people are treated unfairly, there's just no evidence that this is something that's happening. None of those people that are saying that they've seen it, that they've heard of it, that they are not providing any evidence, no credible information. The United Nations doesn't seem to be convinced at all. So here we are, we have a huge population that is swearing that there is a genocide against white people. And then we have other people that are saying, okay, how are we expected to believe this and then therefore do things about it? And also, not to mention, give exceptions to these white South Africans because the genocide over there against them exclusively is so horrific that they get a special door to walk through. Meanwhile, all the other refugees programs get canceled. This is the conversation that is being had. There is a lot of controversy surrounding the South African that is currently living with his family in Alabama, who has an IT business, Errol Langton. It was hard to watch. Welcome to Wednesday.
I think we can all agree that that was an extraordinary meeting that just happened in the White House between Ramaphosa and Donald Trump. What could have gone really south when Trump showed that video of Malema and others shouting things and showing the white graves of white farmers, that could have gone really bad. But the South Africans in the room came together in an extraordinary way to turn things around so that it ended with everyone laughing and looking happy, and Trump, more importantly, feeling very flattered, which is the most important thing when you're dealing with someone like Trump, who is a classic narcissist. So here's what I love about what just happened, and there's going to be lots of analysis unpacking this, but the biggest takeaway for me was this was classic Springbok tactics. When we see the Springboks up against the wall, when they are at the end of their rope in a game, they turn it around. We saw that happen in the last World Cup. And I kind of feel that's what just happened. And how do they do it? Stronger together. It was remarkable to watch people like John Steenhuisen and Ramaphosa come together and laugh about how they used to take jibes at each other. It was remarkable to see Johan Rupert single out Ronald Lamola, who used to be in the ANC Youth League, and be critical of him alongside Malema and say, look at how this person has grown. To show that Malema does not speak for all of us. Malema is not in charge of this country. It was remarkable to watch Ernie Els, despite some really weird things that he said about like the Angolan War and 2 wrongs to make a right. But it was remarkable to watch him use his friendship with Donald Trump to get this extraordinary audience. And you know what was most important is that Trump lapped up all of it He wants to put himself forward as this great savior of white people and to save lives. And I think what was very smart is the people in the room said, you know what, help us save all the lives. This is a problem for all of us. Violent crime is a problem. Help us. Foreign direct investment will help us save our country. That is a winning strategy, I think. I am so proud of my country right now. What about you guys?
Guys, the meeting between Trump and Cyril Ramaphosa was so tense. Watch this.
Investment matters. So the issues that concern you as the United States,
Those are all recent. Those are all deaths.
Yeah.
And just put this on. It's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one.
The two individuals that are in that video that you've seen are both leaders of opposition minority parties in South Africa. We cannot have those people sitting in the union building.
Why wouldn't you arrest that man? That man said, kill the white farmers, kill the white farmers. And then he danced, and he's dancing. That was a stadium that holds 100,000 people, and I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation.
President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, take a bow. You are Black excellence. Have you seen the showdown that happened between President Ramaphosa and President Trump at the White House about this whole white genocide situation happening in South Africa? President Ramaphosa is so strategic and so smart. He knew that as a Black South African, he would not get the ear of the type of president Trump is. So he brought with him in his delegation 3 white South Africans, including his Minister of Agriculture, who were also saying to Trump, this whole story of genocide of white farmers in South Africa is false. Didn't work. Did not work. The Afrikaner white refugees that came to America recently are all famous people, golfers. There's a billionaire in there. So the theory is that Elon Musk has planted the seed in Trump's ear with his other right-wing allies that there is this genocide of white people going on in South Africa. They also provided him with the absolute proof in this video from this minority political party in South Africa. This political party was spewing a lot of hate rhetoric towards white farmers and were advocating for unaliving them. The gag is, though, that this was a very tiny minority grouping that has absolutely no political power and cannot influence South African policies. So Trump showing that video shows that he really does not understand who is calling the shots in South Africa, because that video totally just discredited his claim of genocide, and he did not even realize that. I give so much credit to President Ramaphosa. He was poised. He was diplomatic. He was articulate. He made sense. Perfect representation of strong African leadership. South Africa, you should feel so proud of your president. He came to America and he shone like a diamond in comparison to his American counterpart. Let me know what you think of President Ramaphosa's visit. Did he do a fantastic job representing not only South Africa, but Africans and African leaders on the world stage?